the Nashville 2 podcast with your host, Edward Fox.
G'day, viewers and listeners. It's Ed Fox back with another amazing episode of Nashville 2. You know what makes it amazing is all the people we have on telling their stories across Middle Tennessee and all the things they're up to. I hope you're enjoying the show. I think we're like 50th episode or something. I don't know where we are exactly. My daughter does the production of that. I just get to do the yakety, blackety, smah, however that says. So Nashville 2 is all about telling your story. If you know somebody across Middle Tennessee, whether they're a community leader, whether they're a business owner, whether they're an after-school mentor, whether they started a pooper scooping business as a 10-year-old, it doesn't matter. If they've got a story to tell and they need to be recognized, we want to have them on Nashville 2. Because you're Nashville 2, let's tell your story. And today, my special guest is Tony Honeycutt. And Tony and I have met through various different ways. I think some different networking stuff. Tony, thanks for being on the show.
Glad to be here, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, Tony, let's start off with the question I normally ask. Are you originally from Middle Tennessee?
I'm from Tennessee, but not Middle Tennessee. I was born and raised in Chattanooga, so just a few hours down the road.
That's kind of, I always think it's funny when I drive down to Chattanooga how I go through Georgia before I get back into Tennessee.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just funny to me. I'm like, I'm in Georgia. No, I was going to Chattanooga. What happened? Oh, now I'm back in Tennessee. Now I'm in Chattanooga. Okay, I don't know how that happens.
We do that to confuse you.
Well, it works. You know, I moved from the deep South. You know, people, I tell them all the time, where are you from? Oh, from the deep South. They go, what? I said, yeah, I moved north to learn how to say g'day, y'all.
Yeah,
so exactly. That really confuses them. So, Tony, how did you end up then in Nashville from Chattanooga?
Long story, but I'll make it short. Got married. My wife lived here in Franklin, and in 2015, I moved up here soon after we got married.
Okay, so you've been here 8 years or so. See, look at that. I can do math.
You're good.
Thanks.
You're quick.
And so you guys are in Franklin, Tennessee?
Yes.
Okay, just like me, I'm in Franklin as well. I am learning that naming the podcast Nashville 2 might have been better to name it Middle Tennessee Stories, but when I saw Nashville, the number 2 available as a URL, I'm a URL junkie. I buy a ton of web domains just because, what could I do with that? Oh, what could I do with that? You know, and so I saw Nashville 2 and I saw Wichita Wow, so I picked up both of them. I've lived in both places. So tell me a little bit about, Tony, you've got a business. You might even have more than one. I'm not sure. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, my primary thing is my company's called Games to Go Nashville.
And is that with the 2 or TO? Games to Go. Okay. So games2go.com?
Games2gonashville.com.
Okay.
But what we do, we're an event planner. So we bring a lot of fun activities to your business, your church, your school, your home, your HOA neighborhood party, a fundraiser, nonprofit events, or if you just want to have a lot of fun, we bring things like portable mini golf, soccer pool, oversized yard games. We've got about 40 different activities that appeal to every age range, whether you're 2 years old or 102 years old. I've got something that will accommodate you and just elevate your experience. I mean, I started out doing this in Chattanooga back in 2014 and had a partner, and we did it in Chattanooga and then expanded into Knoxville. Then at the same time, that was about, as I mentioned earlier, when I was about to move to the Middle Tennessee area because I got married. And so I rolled it out up here, and then he had to go back into the real world and got out of the entrepreneur world. And so we had a split, and I did a rebrand. We originally were called Holes to Go, and all we had was mini golf.
Right.
And I took advantage saying, hey, I'm in the driver's seat, so I'm gonna blow this thing up as much as I can, because the feedback I got was people were looking for different activities instead of, we don't do any bouncy houses or inflatables. And there's so many people out there in the market that do that. I've got an entertainment, offering that a lot of people don't really offer. And for instance, miniature golf, which is what I started with, that, we played that as kids. I'm sure you played it over in Australia,
right?
And people play it all over there. all over the world. And it's something, doesn't matter what your age is, what your ability is, if you're an athlete or not.
Right.
Everybody loves getting out there, and it's a good family friendly, just fun activity. So I grew up from there, and here I am, started that in 17, and we're in 23 now, and it just keeps growing and growing and doing unique events.
Right. Yep, exactly. And so one of the ones that I like to talk about, and you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago at Rotary, was the idea all of these nonprofits are doing full-on golf tournaments that take a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of money, and most of them are breaking even, or the first year they're probably losing money, actually. If they did a miniature golf tournament, right, they could have a lot of fun with that. It could be done in a couple of hours. They could set up virtually anywhere with your organization, with your setup, and make way more money. I think everybody should be calling you.
I would like that, Ed. I've done, it's funny you mentioned that, because I've done a number of tournaments, mostly for corporate outings and a few schools, and a couple of private events that we've put on, not really regulation, but, a serious organized tournament where, there were customized scorecards, customized flags and balls for it. And we could easily do that and take it in the nonprofit sector and help them put on a hassle-free event, and probably be more lucrative as far as donations and fundraising overall than putting together a real golf tournament or any kind of real big event. The planning that goes into those things, I know because I'm involved in a couple of nonprofits.
Right.
It's a tremendous amount of manpower and months of planning to put on events like that. Working with the golf courses in the area. Sometimes they're not as easy to work with, because, you're just trying to take their course for a day, and they want the public and other groups, whoever has the biggest purse usually gets priority.
Exactly.
And this could be done in a smaller area, and not everybody plays golf, like you alluded to earlier too, but everybody could play miniature golf.
I was at a networking group, and three guys were talking about a tough par 3 on, I can't even remember the course. I said, yeah, I had a tough par 3 the other night. Getting it past that bloody windmill's a pain in the butt. And they just shook their head. You know me, I'm about dad jokes, right? So they just shook their head. But I really think they're missing out. We take ourselves way too seriously all the time. And I think there's some nonprofits that have serious missions that could lighten up a little bit on their fundraising, right? That could use miniature golf. They could have leaderboards. They could sell T-shirts. They could sell mulligans. They could have swag. They could have sponsors. They could do hole-in-ones. They could do whole sponsors. Charge all the regular money, because you're getting 96 teams of 4, right? Whatever. You can run that through an 18 shotgun start on miniature golf, just like you can on the other golf courses.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think that is $1 million idea that not enough nonprofits or enough businesses, whoever's doing a golf tournament, they don't do it. They should. So tell me about some of the other things you've got. Tell me about some of the fun events you've done.
Well, I mean, as far as activities that I offer, I've got, like I said, about 35 to 40 activities that appeal to every age range. But another one I came out with in 2019 is called Soccer Pool. Both of my stepsons play travel soccer and school soccer, so we're at the soccer fields all the time.
Right.
Or football, as you might call it. And so I was talking to the boys one day and said, hey, I'd love to come up with some kind of game or activity that is fairly easy for people to pick up and learn to play, but has a little bit of skill and a little bit of luck mixed into it. So they both love playing pool, and they both played soccer. So we came up with a crazy concept called Soccer Pool. And so what it is, it's like an oversized looking pool table. It's like 15 by 22, and using regulation size soccer balls. And I've got different size balls, like size 5s and size 3s for whatever age is doing the activity. Normally they'd play it on grass, but if you can play it on indoors on a carpeted area or on tile or a,
Whatever. Yep.
gymnasium floor, but I also can provide turf if you want it to look a little bit nicer and slow the balls down. But you're playing with solids and stripes, so it's regulation soccer balls, but they look like pool balls. And so it's a unique activity. Most people think it's all about
6 pockets.
Yes, just
Right.
looks like a huge pool table.
Awesome.
I'll invite you out to an event where I have it next.
Okay.
But that's a huge hit. And then I do a lot of other things called 9 square in the air, which is like 4 square concept, but it's a hybrid of volleyball and sort of volleyball, badminton, and 4 square, up to 9 players at a time, and it rotates out. It's a great thing for a youth group, a church activity, a school activity, or a neighborhood party, or a kid's birthday party. And then I've got a lot of oversized yard games. So I tell people there are games that we grew up on, like Connect Four and Checkers and Jenga, but they're all on steroids.
Right.
They're all, my Connect Four, I've got a 6 foot tall unit, not a tabletop like what most of us are used to seeing. Same thing with the Jenga blocks. I mean, mine are not the little ones that you play on the kitchen table. Mine are some that stack 6 or 7 feet tall. And, I've got some sets that are 4x4s instead of a regular 2x4.
Wow. Right.
So,
you need a hard hat to build them that tall.
Yeah.
Need a permit.
And then, other things that appeal to, I do a lot of daycares and a lot of elementary schools and youth groups that have, younger age kids. And so I have to appeal to them as well. So I've got things like ring toss and ladder toss and a lot of other traditional cornhole, but I also have some crazy cornhole games to where some of them are adult related. So if you're wanting to have an adult beverage, there are some games that have incentives or penalties with the cornhole. And then I've got some that are themed to sports that are like a major league toss or a major football game that's on cornhole. So a lot of, and then I do also some carnival games because I do a lot of school carnivals.
Right.
The old traditional ring toss onto the Coke bottles and the throw the ball in the basket, the skee ball, little portable skee ball units, things like that.
Wow.
So try to appeal to everybody and every kind of activity. And then as far as the second part of your question was unique events. I mean, I do everything from kids' birthday parties to corporate outings to fundraisers, homeowners association, picnics. But I think a couple of the most unique ones over the years here in the Middle Tennessee area that I've done, I had a guy up in Green Hills reach out to me. I had met him through a church event maybe 6 months prior, and he was getting engaged and he was going to propose to his hopefully bride-to-be, and their first date was on a mini golf course. So he brought in 9 holes. At each hole, he set up a unique little prize. I'm not saying he let her win every hole, but she pretty much tore him up on the round of mini golf on the 9 holes. But at the 9th hole, she opened the little box, and there you go. You know what was in the box?
The ring.
So we drop off and then we leave. He had a photographer hiding in the back that she didn't know. It was just the 2 of them out playing a round of mini golf by themselves. So I get back and I'm like, did she say yes? And he's like, I'm like, whoo, okay.
Yeah, that's a relief.
But that was probably one of the most unique ones that I've done. I'll be at the Music City Grand Prix this fall in August. Really excited about the opportunity to get involved with that because it's only the third year, I'm sorry, that the Grand Prix has come back to Nashville, and they're stepping it up. So I'll be in a lot of the VIP tents and out in the public area. So everybody will get a chance to see some of my activities and have a little bit of fun, after you've seen the cars go round and round 100+ times.
Yeah.
I do a lot of festivals, so every event is a little bit different, even though some of them may be the same. A lot of wedding receptions. I never would have thought about marketing to a wedding reception,
Right.
but I've been approached over the years by several and brought old-fashioned yard games to where it, because a lot of people at a wedding reception literally don't dance, and they may or may not drink, and they may have kids with them. So it gives something for the families and the bridal parties to do.
Yeah, when they use a lot of those rustic farms and the barns, I could see how that would fit to the theme. The other thing I wondered if there's not a good theme for like a redneck set of games, right? like have your open toilet, your toilet seats, and have like horseshoes, but with these toilet seats, right? I'm thinking that you could do a bunch of redneck games. So in Wichita, I own a cricket field, and we would do we call it an FDSVP, first day of summer vacation party.
Okay.
And my kids, when they were in school, we'd invite all of their grades, because I had 3 different kids in different grades, and they would invite everybody in that grade was allowed to come out, and we would put on hot dogs and drinks, and we would have redneck games, but in Australia they're called bogan games. So this first day of summer vacation party, Edward would put on the bogan games, and he would explain that these are games from Australia, that some of them will look familiar to them. And then you had a tire toss, right? And so one of the kids was smart, because we didn't set the rules. He rolled the tire, and we said, whoever gets the tire to go the furthest, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And so he was excited. We had a flip-flop toss. We had a toilet ring. We had a toilet seat horseshoe game. So those things that, man, the parents got so involved in that it wasn't even funny, man. Or it was funny. It was hilarious. But there's another $1 million idea for you, $1 million idea for you, Tony. You need a redneck game setup.
I like your method of thinking, Ed.
There you go. See, that's really that's where I come in, as I'm the ideas guy. I was trying to tell somebody the other day. They said, "Oh, I don't know how to start a business." I said, "Well, jump."
As a business owner, it can be tiring paying cash for everything you need. Well, there's a better way. Introducing Trade Bank of Nashville. Our bartering service lets you exchange goods and services without the need for cash transactions. Trade Bank helps businesses like yours reduce expenses, bring in new business, and keep your cash where you need it most. Find out more and join our barter network today. Start getting what you need without paying cash, because sometimes barter is just smarter. Apply today at nashville.tradebank.com.
Well, but what do I do? Doesn't matter. Just look in a direction, find some passion, and go after it, which is what you did, right? I mean, that's what you did.
Totally.
You didn't know everything about the gaming industry before you got started with your business partner and then went out on your own.
Right.
So, okay. So when you're not working, we do something on this show called the Hidden Gems. Tell me some of the hidden gems, whether it's places to eat, places to go, whatever it is, things that you like around Middle Tennessee.
Well, like we were saying earlier, I've been here about 8 years, so there's still a lot of stuff I haven't even explored. But some of my favorite places, being in Franklin, and I love live music.
Right.
So one of my favorite little hidden gems that it's one of those things that you want to share about, but you don't want to share too much, because you don't want it to become too much of a tourist spot. But it's called Kimbrough's Pickin' Parlor, and it's a little bit south of downtown on Main Street in Franklin. It's on Margin Street. And
how do you spell that? Kimbrough's.
Yeah, Kimbrough's, KIMBRO' Pickin', PICKIN Parlor, and it's just an awesome local live music venue. It's a historic home that's been turned into this bar and music venue. They've got indoors, outdoors, and you imagine it's a home. So there's different rooms, like there was a dining room and a living room and a sunroom that they've sort of converted and turned into the music area. But there are instruments hanging all throughout the building. So you can go back in a little room that used to be probably a side bedroom, and there's 6 or 8 guitars hanging on the wall, a couple of mandolins, a couple of conga drums, and people will just show up, Ed, on a random Tuesday night. They may or may not bring their instrument, but they'll pick something up and all of a sudden you'll have a jam session going with 5 strangers and 8 people in that room just listening in, and they've got great food and drink.
Right.
And it's just the vibe there is just, I haven't seen many places that are like that, because you'll be strangers when you walk in, but you'll make some friends during the course of the evening being there. And they get some good, big, up and coming names that come through there ever so often, that it just makes it's a real special place. It's got just an awesome local music vibe.
And this is why I do this show. For me, it's kind of I guess it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me that I have guests come on that tell me about places that I can go that I've never been, that I've never heard of, because I'm new to the area. That's one of the reasons I started the show. I started doing Zooms back during COVID, and I was learning all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I should be recording this and putting it out somewhere so other people can know. So I'm excited to go check that out, but we won't tell too many. It's just you and me, Tony.
No, just us.
Just us. Okay. So
I got a good restaurant to recommend. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all or not, called Smoking Thighs up in Wedgwood. Again, a little small sort of hole in the wall place over close to Belmont, and close to the new Geodis, the Nashville Soccer Club stadium, maybe a half mile from there. So it's a great place to go on your way in or your way out. But it's a small restaurant and bar, and what they're known for is they call it thighs in a pile. So it's chicken thighs that they chop up, they serve it on like big old pizza platters, and they've got a whole list of things you can add into it, so you can have a different dish every time you go with chicken as the base. And I love the ones with all the peppers and the pineapple and cheese and whatever spices that they put on it. It's great food. It'll zing your mouth, and it's a great place to go on the way over to a soccer game. But it's also great on the weekends, just going over there on a Saturday morning before the rush comes in. You can sit on the outdoor patio, and it's shaded, and it's a great place. Smoking Thighs.
Awesome. Okay, that's 2 down. And my wife does love that. Her preferred piece of chicken is a thigh. So I'm 2 for 2. So okay, third one.
This one's a little different. I'll tell you about one of my sort of go-to, just to sort of when I need to decompress or sort of gather my thoughts and so forth. There's a park here in Franklin called Fort Granger Park.
Okay.
It's an old Civil War place where the Union Army had a fort. It's the highest point in Franklin, so it overlooked the entire town back in the day. Today it's all grown up, and but it also, at the base of the hill, is the Harpeth River. So you can go to this park. It's never crowded. It's really grassy. They've got a pedestrian bridge that goes around the perimeter of where the old fort was, and there's some old wall fortifications still in place if you're into the history. But it's just a serene, quiet place to go gather your thoughts or take a break. I go there probably every other week for an hour or two, and maybe just I journal a little bit there, and sometimes I'll go and have a meeting there with somebody, and sometimes I'll go and just walk down the side of the hill down to the Harpeth River and check that out. And you're the only person out in the woods in Franklin, where everything else is booming, and you could see the downtown area, but you're in solitary, so to speak.
Wow. Yeah. And so you've hit me 3 for 3. I haven't heard any of those. And like I said, this is about the 50th episode of the show. So I'm excited to try out all 3 of these. Tony?
Maybe one day you and I, Ed, maybe we'll go to the park, then we'll go to Smoking Thighs, then we'll go in the evening to Kimbrough's.
That might be too much of me for you, Tony.
I can handle you.
Okay, well, thank you. Hey, Tyler, come on video if you're around. So we've just our next guest popped in, Tyler Erickson. Hey, Tyler, how you doing? I love that.
What's going on, Ed?
You got a dress code memo that I didn't send, but thank you.
Hey,
Tyler, do you do you know Tony Honeycutt at all?
I do not know Tony. Nice to meet you, Tony.
You as well, Tyler.
Yeah, so you guys should meet. Tyler owns a company with Isaac, his business partner Isaac, called MM Elevated.
You got it.
Yes, and Tony owns Games to Go Nashville. Games to Go Nashville.
That's it. Games to Go Nashville.
Okay, so you've got. Tony has set a high bar for you today, Tyler. He is giving me 3 hidden gems that I have never heard of before that have been great. Tony, just to wrap up, we've got a couple of minutes left. What type of budget does a person need to have to be able to hire something from you that would be fun for either a family reunion or a bigger event? I would say that your games would go everywhere from the small budget up to a huge budget, right? You could solve something for just about anybody.
They do. I mean, I do a lot of, younger kids' birthday parties in the $200 to $300 budget range. And most of my events are like either a 2-hour or 3-hour, or maybe a half day, or sometimes a full day, depending upon the size and the scope of the attendance. But the typical event, let's say a 3-hour event with a couple of different attractions that can accommodate 100 plus people, you're within, $500, $600 budget range.
Okay.
To give you an idea.
Now,
that includes delivery, tax, everything.
Folks, if you're listening to this in 2033 and Tony's still doing this and I'm still doing this, the prices will have gone up.
Yes.
Just letting you know. That podcasts hang out there forever, I've got a video channel on YouTube that I started in 2006, and somebody gave me a hard time the other day because I was still answering comments. It's been 13 years, 14, math, doesn't matter. But folks, you got to check out some of what Tony does. I'm sure on the website, you've got photos and all that sort of stuff, but he's a great guy. And if you need somebody to help pump up your next event, Games to Go Nashville with Tony Honeycutt. Thanks for being on the show, Tony.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
This is the Nashville 2 podcast with your host, Edward Fox.